What is going on, everyone? We are going to jump right into this one. I saw this post on the comic book collecting subreddit, and I thought that this had some really useful things to talk about. Big one right off the bat that I'm just going to open up with is that not everything should be graded. And in many cases, most books should not be graded. And that's one of the things we're going to talk about here, because this is one of these issues that can come up, especially with somebody that is very new to comics. And that's the situation this person is in, from this post. And I think there are a lot of people that could find themselves in this exact same situation. So I thought this had some useful things that we could discuss. So post here says, I inherited a lot of comics. Goes, I inherited a lot of comic books from my stepdad. In doing research, I found a lot of ones, if graded well, so meaning, I think they mean if graded high, if they graded high, can hold some insanely high value. A couple questions. What is a reputable place I can get them graded? Where would be the best place to sell after? What places could I go to sell ones that aren't exactly worth the grade? So those are all three very good questions. I think it's great this person came here, asked some questions. I was surprised. The comment section was actually pretty kind. For the most part. It wasn't a lot of like real negativity stuff, which sometimes you get here. And it's the internet. It's the flaws with the internet is that you get a lot of trolls. But the next part is where this gets a little tricky. It says, I'm entirely new and desperately in need of some money, so I want to try and get these moving. That is not necessarily the best place to be if you are looking to get money out of comics quickly. Being desperate for money, that can put you in a tough spot for this. Comics are not necessarily something that move quickly, especially if you're trying to get the most out of them. And so, again, that can be a little tough. Now, the other thing here, though, is it says they're entirely new. I think a lot of us take it for granted that you can go through these boxes of comics and just pull out keys. That you can recognize what those keys are, what the important books are, what the valuable books are. But if you are completely new, I mean, this is one of those things you got to always remember is that all those books look the same. There is no difference between a Secret Wars 8 and an Amazing Spider-Man #1 silver and a Action Comics #1. Maybe they recognize that one. I mean, but they're all effectively the same if you don't know comics. And so that's one of the things that I think that's some of the tricky part with asking the internet for advice is that a lot of times you're getting people that have this experience and they just say, hey, go look them up. That can be a huge daunting task and not necessarily the best solution for that person. Now, in cases like this, if they know someone that knows comics, they should try to have that person come over and help. Now, granted, they're going to the internet, so they probably don't know someone that knows comics. They should not take it to an LCS. I'll say that. Like if they want to get their value out of this, that is the last place they should go. They're going to get very, very little for what's in this collection. But we're going to answer these few questions here. Then we're going to look at some pictures. They posted the pictures of all the books that are in this, this collection of books. And we'll talk about, are there any that are actually worth grading? How should this person handle this, set of books that they've come into? So the first thing here, what is a reputable place I can get them graded? I mean, to me, the answer is it's CGC or CBCS, but I'm going to point someone to CGC. I mean, I don't care about any controversies or anything, 9.9s, whatever. CGC sells for the most. If you've got somebody that wants to make money from selling their books, I'm going to send them to CGC. No questions asked. Like that is it. That is the answer. Now, the next one, where would be the best place to sell after? I think if they're trying to move the books quickly, the best place is probably either eBay, setting up an eBay account, selling them through there, or selling them on probably Comic Link if they're graded. Comic Link just has the lowest fees. They have very regular auctions, so you could get the books in. And, the other auction houses, I mean, they're fine, but I mean, Heritage is a lot more fees unless you have some really big books and, you're going to be paying like 35% in fees. Comic Connect, I think, is like 15%. So Comic Link at 10%, probably the best of the auction houses for graded books. Then next, I would say I would go with probably eBay. Now for the raw books, I would just say eBay. And we'll get into a little bit more on that in a bit. All right, so now let's check out those books. They provided pictures of, I believe it's everything that they had. So there's quite a few pictures. We'll go through them. It's mostly bronze and copper. There's a little bit of silver, sprinkled in. So this is the start. Now, as someone who recently purchased that Bronze Age collection that I've talked about in that building a comic business video, I am very experienced with selling these types of books, and I know approximately what they go for outside of being super high grade. I mean, clearly some books can have a lot more value if they're like a 9.6 or 9.8 candidate, but this person has said they're brand new to comics. They cannot make that judgment. There's no way. They will lose money. It will be a bad time for them if they try to send in, books like this, to get graded, and they are not 9.6s or 9.8s. That's going to cost more than the book is worth. But so the first thing here, from what I learned from that Bronze Age collection, from auctioning them, the main titles like X-Men, Spider-Man, Incredible Hulk, those ones were getting anywhere from about $5 to $7 per book. The lesser titles, like I think it was like Iron Man, Miss Marvel, that kind of thing, those were getting about $1 to $3 a book. And then the more obscure titles were getting $1 and less per book. So we've got some Tarzan here, that's $1 book. We've got the X-Men, maybe that's a $5 book, X-Men $5 book, that kind of thing. Detective Comics, $5 book. So we'll keep scrolling down and you'll see that that's a lot of what is in here. And so my first big recommendation for someone that's trying to sell books like this is, New Mutants, those were like $1 each when I sold them as in a lot, like New Mutants $1 books. So I would say group them together into lots, the same title, 10 to 12 books per lot. You take, just a picture of the fronts. I mean, it's not worth taking them all out of the bags, doing front and backs for stuff like this. Just take pictures of the front, in the bags, post them on eBay, auction them off as a lot, and just in a week, you'll have your money. I mean, that's how I would handle those. And you'll get anywhere from about $1 a book to $7 a book, depending on the title. Shipping will be important because you got to make sure you know how to handle that, and that you don't end up damaging the books and then you're gonna have problems with returns and all of that, and that you don't spend too much on shipping. You got to understand that kind of thing. But we keep scrolling down here. I mean, you've got this X-Men book here. This one can have some value, but again, only if it's very high grade. And if it's not, it's probably not worth it. And I don't think this person can make that call. Got some Wonder Woman here. Again, that's what I would do. I would just put all the Wonder Woman books together in a lot, auction them off. We keep going down. We got some Dazzler, not worth anything anymore though, because Taylor Swift apparently isn't going to be Dazzler. So not worth anything anymore. So it's a mix of DC and Marvel. The DC would probably sell for a little less than the Marvel books. We've got a little bit of Bronze Age horror, but still, like most of these books, they're going to be $5, $10 a book, especially because they're probably not 9.6, 9.8, 9.4 type candidates. Now, if some were, maybe they're worth more. But again, this person is not in a position to make that judgment call. And unless they know someone that can, they shouldn't be trying to get those books graded. So we'll keep going down here. We've got some Shazam, Witching Hour. And again, you can see the wear on the spine of this book. Like this is probably a 3.0, 3.5. And so if a lot of the books are similar conditions, then again, not worth getting those books graded. And I might miss some minor keys in here. We've got a New Mutants 1. But I want to talk about that one. Like that's one that can confuse a lot of people. I think when they see New Mutants #1, they think it's worth more than it is. It's like it's a #1. It's a long running title. You had Cable in that run. You had Deadpool in that run. Look at a 9.8. Last sale $109. 90-day average $94. 9.6 $27. If you don't have a 9.8, just getting that book graded, you're losing money. I mean, after shipping and everything, then selling fees and all that, like if you cannot identify a 9.8 or do a 9.8 pre-screen, you're losing money. And so that's a book that should not be graded by this person. They should sell it raw, probably get $5 to $10, something like that. And they should, move on. So then we start getting to some of the Secret Wars books, and those can have value if they're, 9.6, 9.8 for outside of Secret Wars 8. I mean, Secret Wars 8 is a different story, but again, I don't think this person can make that call. I don't think that they should try to get those books graded and try to, swing for that 9.6 or 9.8. All right. Now, again, there's some minor keys in here, they're like $5. Like if you put them in an auction, they'll get what they're worth. And so that's all I would do. I would just put them into an auction as a lot, and they'll, it'll all average out. So we'll keep scrolling down. Again, like there's some Secret Wars stuff, Tales of Teen Titans, that kind of thing. And we eventually, and then we've got some of the Kitty Pryde and Wolverine. I mean, but still, these are, they're $5 at best type books, $5 to $10. And we eventually hit this one. I mean, we've got a Dazzler #1. I mean, that's maybe like a $10 book, something like that. But we've got a Secret Wars 8. So we've gone pretty far through this list so far. I think this is like a Bronze Age. This is early-ish Bronze Age Spider-Man. It's, it's probably a $10 book, this one right here. But the Secret Wars 8, a 9.8, that book is like $450, $400, somewhere in that range. This one might be worth grading. Now let's take a look. Let's take a look at Secret Wars 8. Again, this is going to be a very tough call for this person to make. If they don't know how to grade, they have no idea what that book is going to give them. So last sale for $40. Let's see, was it it was a direct edition. And, it's because it has Spider-Man's face. I don't want to make an assumption that somebody knows what I mean. If it had a barcode, it would be the newsstand. Spider-Man's face is the direct edition. So then we go down to 9.6 is $270, 9.4 is $180, 9.2, $190, 9.0, $200. I mean, you see that price compression there. Like the 9.0 went for more than the 9.4. 8.5, $205. I mean, it just keeps going up as you go, as we move down in grade. It makes no sense. 8.0, $150, 7.5, $114, 7.0, $105. So when we start getting down around the 7, the fine, very fine range, that's where it starts to not be worth getting graded, where you're better off just selling it raw. That book will sell raw for like $90 to $100 in almost any condition, outside of like really beat up. And this one looks fine. I don't see anything that jumps out. So it's a book that if it's, VF or better, they'll probably get a little more value out of it by grading. If it's not, should sell it raw. And so that's kind of how I would approach that one. They are probably better off just putting it in a lot with the other Secret Wars books and selling them all at once. I mean, the reality is that's going to be a more in-demand item for people. People like to get all those Secret Wars books at once. And I think, I don't know if he had all of them, but he had a lot of them. That's probably what I would do. Then we keep scrolling down here, see if there's some other books. We've got this book here. This is that Teen Titans Annual #2, I think. It's a minor key, but again, I don't think that one's worth it unless it's a 9.8. And even then, it's a bit of a stretch. So probably just better off selling it raw. And we'll keep going down. We got some more New Mutants. I mean, like, again, dollar books, maybe $5. We've got this, Spirit. We've got a Silver Age X-Men here. Now, this is, I think, X-Men 27. Yeah. So just to give you an idea, like, just because it's Silver Age X-Men, it doesn't mean it's worth grading. We look at X-Men number 27, and we have no idea what this person might have been looking at. I'm sure they don't have GPA, but maybe they're looking on eBay. And so, yeah, a 9.6, $1,300. I mean, someone sees that and they go, wow, that book is worth a ton of money, but start going down in the grades. I mean, a 6.0, 72. It's not worth grading there. 7.0, 100, not worth grading. This is a book that has to be VF or better to be worth grading, and it's probably not VF or better. I mean, if I had to guess, just looking at this, it's probably like a 6, and it's probably worth more just selling it raw. Like maybe you sell it raw for $50 instead of putting in another 50 or more to try to get 100, and then maybe it's missing an interior page or missing a coupon, and this person didn't know to check for that. So again, I think this is probably just better selling raw at an auction. So let's keep scrolling down here, see if we come across any other keys that are part of this. Again, I think this one was in my Bronze Age collection too, this X-Men Teen Titans crossover. I think it was like $5. This one can be a key here, this Dark Phoenix, but it's got to be like a 9.6, 9.8. If it's not worth grading. And so for this person, it's not something they should deal with. So now we'll keep going down. Now we've got some of these, again, they can be worth more, but it's probably not a 9.8. Like looking at this corner, it looks like it's got a corner crease there. Maybe some damage down here. It's hard to say, but these books don't look like they're going to be in that condition that's worthwhile to get graded. But we'll keep moving down because I know they have a couple other keys in here. We've got the first Nimrod up here, like a $5 or $10 book. But that's why I would package those into lots, sell them off, in an auction, and it's the best way, I think, to sell those books. Now we do get down to a little bit bigger X-Men keys in a moment here, but still nothing else. Like it's not like these books don't have value, but these are books that are going to sell for about $5 or $6 a piece. Now we're about to get to one of the keys that might be worth grading. This one right here. We've got an X-Men number 142. So it's second part, Days of Future Past. It's a newsstand. So let's go look that one up. Now let's see if that one is worth it for this person to get graded, or at least make the attempt at it. So X-Men number 142. X-Men 141 is the bigger of the two, the first part of the story, but that one was a newsstand. So you can see a newsstand 9.8, $700, 9.6, $275, 9.4, 140, 9.2, 75. So that book has to be a 9.4 or better for it to be worth it for them to get graded. And look at that corner down there. It already looks like it's bent. There's probably a color break, a decent color break, maybe a 2 or 3 inch color break there. So that book already is not going to get that type of grade. And so again, not worth grading, but this person might not know that. They just see X-Men 142. They look on eBay and they're like, oh, like $700 or $500. Like I should get this graded, but then they're going to actually end up losing money on that transaction. So we'll keep scrolling down here and we come across an X-Men 141. That's a little bit bigger book. This one's the direct. This is the first part of that Days of Future Past storyline. So let's look up X-Men number 141. And we'll see, maybe this one, maybe this one's worth this person getting graded. So 9.8, 750, 9.6, 320, 9.4, 200, 9.2, 163, 9.0, 180, 8.5, 150, 8.0, 150, 7.5, 120. 110 for a 7.0. So really, like, to me, it's got to be VF or better. If it's not VF or better, an 8.0 or better, not worth grading. And maybe it is, maybe it's not. So if they can get someone to, give them some information, like could actually take a look at it and, do a rough grade on it, they could maybe find out if that's worthwhile, if they could maximize the value in that book. I mean, if it is a 9.8 or 9.6, like a lot more money, but if it's below a VF, like if it's below an 8, it's just not worth it. So now let's keep going down here. And again, see, it's a lot of, bronze and copper books. Now we've got one more that I came across here. We've got this Tales of the Teen Titans number 44, first Nightwing in costume. And so let's take a look at that one. So Tales of Teen Titans number 44, 1984, early copper, late bronze. 9.8, 252, 9.6, 130, 9.4, $56. So, again, like they've got to be able to identify this is a 9.6 or 9.8, and they are not in a position to do that. So we've gone through this full set of books, and I might have missed some minor keys or something, but the books that have enough value to consider grading out of all of these, there's only 4. So that's one of the things that's really important to think about is that, like scrolled through these and I can pick out the 4 books that might be worth grading. Now, granted, if they're really high grade, there may be a few others that are worth it. But in general, it's 4 books: X-Men 141, X-Men 142, Tales of Teen Titans 44, and Secret Wars 8. And the reality is it's probably just 2 books. The ones that have the best chance for them are the Secret Wars 8 and the X-Men 141. Everything else is pretty high risk that they may end up losing money on the transaction of getting the book graded, selling it, the fees, everything that go with that. So reality is this person probably shouldn't be getting any of these books graded, and they should probably just sell them all raw. And I would do it on eBay, and I would do it in lots, because if you do it wrong, I'll show you what happens. So I saw this post recently on Elite Comics 11. I like Elite Comics 11. I buy comics from them, somewhat often, through either live sales or that kind of thing. But I saw this post. Batman bundle of 7 plus 1 Superman books, $299 for 8 slabs. These 8 books, to get them pressed, cleaned, and graded, cost more than $299. So the action of getting these books pressed, cleaned, and graded actually lost this person money, whoever had these done, even if they got them for free. And you can see, nobody has purchased it. It's been up for a day and no one has purchased it. So even at $299, nobody wanted to pay $37.50 or whatever per slab. Still wasn't worth it. So this is what you can end up with if you send in the wrong books. You get a bunch of books that maybe if they were 9.6s or 9.8s, they were worthwhile. But at these grades, they are not. And then you end up costing yourself money. Like this person that says they're in a desperate need of money are not in a place to send in books that aren't worth grading and then losing more money. That's why, to me, this person should put them in lots, auction them on eBay, and be done with it. Like that is going to get them the most for their money with the least risk. Now, if they wanted to gamble a bit and send in the Secret Wars 8 and the X-Men 141, get them pressed and cleaned, and then get them graded, maybe they end up a little better there. But otherwise, I just wouldn't. I think the risk is too high for somebody who is new into comics. It's just too much to try to learn and too much risk that something could go wrong. That's when you get people that get books back from CGC and they go, oh, like CGC doesn't know how to grade. Like, why did I get this? And it's like, no, you didn't know how to grade. That's why you got the books back that you did. Not trying to crap too much on the person that got these books graded, but these books had no business being graded. They never should have been sent in. And that's what, this is what happens when you do that. And this person would find themselves in the exact same situation if they sent their books in. So just thought this would be useful, especially, for anybody that could find themselves in this position or are in this position, newer to comics. Not everything should be graded. In fact, a very small percentage of comics should be graded. And yeah, I like graded books. I think that there's a lot of value in grading, but you still have to know which books to get graded. And out of all those books there, it's probably 2. And if somebody doesn't know comics, they're not going to know which ones to send in. So hopefully you enjoyed this video, got something out of it. If you did, please hit that like button, subscribe button, notification bell, all this kind of stuff. And I will see you on the next one.